All right, guys. We are live. Again, back at another one. Again, I'm trying to be consistent with you guys, not only with skits and original content, but also these live reaction. They're very therapeutic for me. Plus, I get the internet with you guys. So, yeah, another live reaction video. Today, we're going to do CNBC Make It. We're going to switch it up a bit, on a Monday. And the title's going to be, let me get to it, title. It's going to be, why is rent in NYC is out of control? Yeah. And New York City. So we're going to dive into this video. And yeah, man. Thank you guys for joining. And we're going to get right into it. Let's go.
We saw the number and it was just insane. It's literally doubling
Fair use.
what we're paying right now.
We never expected that much of a hike. I mean, that was just a real shock to us.
This apartment is not worth $3,500. There is nothing worth $3,500 in New York City.
Rents in New York City are at an all-time high. In June 2022, citywide median asking rent reached $3,500. That's about a 35% increase from 2021. The median asking rent is $4,100 in Manhattan.
Now, I can see that rent increase for Manhattan. That is Manhattan. That's like Manhattan. I ain't never been to Miami. I've been to New York City one time. It's like for New Year's around maybe 2018, 2017. I did not enjoy it at all. But again, people say that because I went on New Year's. It's probably why I didn't enjoy it. Everything was cluttered, packed, and I was like, oh, kind of like Chicago better. I don't know. Chicago is like a New York and Atlanta mixed together to me. But yeah, I can see that from my hand. That's expensive. $4,100. Jeez Louise, you paying more than LA. I can see that.
$3,200 in Brooklyn and $2,600 in Queens. Half the renters in New York City spend more than 30% of their income on rent, and a third of renters spend more than 50%.
My mom called me the other day and she's like, "You're 31, you should own property." And I literally said, "With what money?" Because it all goes.
Yeah, like back in the day, like I'm from the South, so in the South, yes, you can do all that in the South, that 31. But 31 today in this generation, well, majority of places, not just the South, but because the South is starting to get expensive as well, especially since the pandemic, things in the South have increased as well. So I see what her mama trying to do, because back in the day, you could do a lot, and our grandparents have 5 to 7 kids, and the man just worked and pay all the bills, and the mom stayed home and took care of the household, and, you know, the traditional thing. But nowadays, heck no, bro. That's just, nah. I had to tell my mom the same thing. With what money? Like, it's expensive, bro. Like, it's expensive. And if you stay in a major city, again, what happened with the pandemic in New York, LA, Atlanta. Oh, no, Atlanta was cool. But New York, LA, everybody migrated. Like, yeah, man, tell your mama I wish. Back in the day, you could do that stuff. Now, shoot, you still got roommates in 30s. Trying to make it.
All goes to my rent.
In 2021, New York City surpassed San Francisco as the most expensive city in the U.S. to rent a one-bedroom apartment. With the city entering the most competitive rental market in a decade, affordable housing is increasingly hard to find.
I'm going to filter for 2 bedrooms, which is what I'm living in right now, for $2,250, which is what I'm paying right now in my current neighborhood, and there's nothing, literally no matches.
I'm like, where's she trying to search it? $2,250 in New York. Where you stay at?
Some renters who got pandemic discounts are seeing their rent increase by at least 30%.
No, that's too much. I'll tell you that right now. I've heard stories where some people's rent increased from, like, year over year. I'm thinking the rent may increase $50, $100 every year, maybe $200 max. But I've heard stories where people rent increased $700, $800, $900. Man, that's crazy. Cause you paying that? Listen, man. I ain't no billionaire. I ain't no Elon, no Gates, no Zuck. Shoot. Don't give me them prices. Christopher, we're going to increase your rent by $700. Guess what? Shoot. I got to go back home for a minute. Y'all outpriced your boy out, man. I can't do it. I'm not balling. Not on that level. Not yet. But geez Louise. Chippendales and collard greens, Batman. She typed in 2250. I was like, baby girl, I don't know where you trying to stay, but not today.
For market rate apartments, rent increases aren't regulated, meaning landlords can charge as much as they think they can get on the open market.
My name is Casey Cleary.
Capitalism.
I'm 39 years old, and my rent went up $700.
What I say? I just got finished saying that. Again, guys, I don't watch these videos. I just click on them, find a video, and we watch them together. And hopefully I don't get no copy strike or whatever they do on the tube and the book and the twitches and the ticks and the talks. But yeah, man, that's expensive, man. That is expensive, man. I don't know. That's crazy. There should be a law where you only increase it to a certain, like between $100 to $200, man. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. That is freaking crazy. But at the same time, also, the bad thing is, I'm all for capitalism. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for, yeah, man, put in work, grind hard, make it to the American dream. I'm all fine with that. But the problem is, you try to encompass this whole array of an idea of what you think this price is, and then turn around, you put it on the people who are just maintaining. Now you're pushing them further and further and further down. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how this is still going on. And then with the pandemic, everything went up. People died. You got labor shortage, supply issues, people switching careers. It's just all that going on, and the price, it's just outrageous, man.
My name is Thelma Rose Anon. I'm 32, and my rent increased $1,100.
Oh, Dios mío, cortándote. Oh my goodness, man. I've never seen such craziness. Your rent increase, I gotta bring that back. I'm gonna make sure $1,100. I'm gonna bring that back. I'm getting this.
My name's Ernest.
AutoZone. Hold on.
Anon. I'm 32, and my rent increased $1,100.
No, I have to go back home. What changed? What should have changed is this. This is crazy. $1,100 increase. She went from $2,400, which is normal prices in LA. That's like the lowest you're gonna get right now in LA. I thought the single bedroom was $1,800. It's like 23 to 24 to 25 to 26, up to 27 for a studio or a one bedroom, if you're lucky to find one, because they fill up so fast. Because again, high demand. But geez Louise, 1135. Shoot, back to Carolinas I go, boy. 1100. Man, I see these prices. I'll be like, man, I need to hit the lottery. Because this right here, son, this right here, it's just too much, man. That is just way, way, way too much, man. This is outrageous. And they in their 30s, too.
My name's Ernestine Sue. I'm 23 years old, and my rent increased by $2,100 a month.
Throw the whole thing away. So basically, you got pandemic prices to bring people in. Oh, we're getting back to normal. Pull people back in. And then you turn around and you hit these people with the shebang, with the $700 increase, $1,100 increase, $2,100 increase. Are you out your mind? I'm speaking like a person from the working class. You right. That's a lot, bruh. That's a lot, B. You can best believe I thought the deuces. Oh, Christopher, don't leave. We can work out a plan. Playing my ass. Shit, what on these goddamn prices? You think I am Superman?
Month.
So what's causing these unprecedented rent hikes? And is there an end in sight?
New York's been expensive for a very long time, and that has to do with demand, right? People want to live here.
I saw an episode on Oprah with my mom about making a vision board.
Shout out to O. Shout out to the beautiful, beautiful O. Shout out to you, babe.
So I made one when I was 17 before college.
And also, let me say this. Those vision boards are important. Trust me, those vision boards are important. They change your lives. I gotta get back on mine. I used to get in my Apple and go into notes and just write out my affirmations every day. So I can understand what she's talking about. That vision board, that just having the obsessed mindset of getting somewhere and grinding and changing things and moving things around. So I can understand where she's coming from. Got to put in that work. Got to put in that grind. Got to put it in. I understand. So that vision board is so important, guys.
College, and I had New York on there and Manhattan.
Everything's here. You have all walks of life. Anything you want, any cuisine you want. You have Broadway, museums, everything.
I forgot Broadway.
Couple that with persistently low housing supply, and you have a recipe for extremely expensive city.
After the pandemic hit in March 2020, New York City's population dropped by about 340,000.
Renters are fleeing New York City, leaving a record number of empty apartments in Manhattan, and as vacancies rise, rents are dropping.
During this period, rental inventory reached levels not seen in over a decade. The last time rents in New York had such a significant drop-off was during the 2009 financial crisis.
When the pandemic happened, a lot of us millennials, Gen Z, we kind of laughed that we are finally able to afford to live in the city that we love so much.
At the height of the pandemic.
Exactly, man. Like, you get an opportunity to live in this. I wouldn't mind trying to live in I don't know about San Fran. I don't know. I wouldn't mind. I would love to live in different cities for like 2 to 4 weeks around the country. That would be so good. Especially if you do remote work or you're an entrepreneur that can work from a computer. I will enjoy doing that just to see the country that I live in, other than staying in 1 or 2, 3 states. And some people don't even live in their city sometimes. So I can understand what she's saying right now. The ability to finally live in an area that you always wanted to live in, and it's just nice. It's just nice. But then again, it comes back with a vengeance with these price increases, and it's like, yo, man, like it can be dampering on the spirit, man. I'm not gonna lie, especially when you finally get what you wanted and now it's increased to this astronomical amount. I can see.
Pandemic, a third of listings in New York City were offering rental concessions in the form of 1 month or more of free rent.
Being a landlord in the beginning of the pandemic was quite scary. There were so many unknowns, and as New York City started to shut down, there was this concern, well, what about all of our units? Are tenants going to be able to pay rent? What's going to happen? We have a lot of expenses as small landlords, our mortgages, our city bills.
Ernestine, a recent college grad from California, moved to New York in January 2021 to start her first job for CNBC's Fast Money.
New York City was empty at the time. People were away from the city.
She and her roommate found a 2-bedroom apartment in Manhattan's East Village.
And she got her okay. Now for her situation, I can see why that happened. 1, she's in Manhattan. 2, she had a roommate. So the price increase is not that crazy because she's now paying LA prices, but she has a roommate, so it's cut in half. So it's not too crazy. If she has to pay, went from like let's say 2,000, 4,000. I know it's in 2s to the 4s. So basically, you're basically paying for a 1-bedroom apartment with LA prices for a 1-bedroom, but you have a roommate, so it's 4. So I can see that. Okay, now it's not too crazy because I understand where you are now. You're in Manhattan, you had a pandemic price, and you have a roommate. So I can see that. I can see that.
For $22.50.
We actually got a great deal. I believe we got like a month or 2 off of the rent. So our rent was actually discounted. And also our apartment has in-unit washer dryer, which you don't find a lot in New York City unless you're paying a premium.
Casey and her husband had been living in their Upper East Side 1-bedroom apartment since 2015 and received a $450 rent cut during the pandemic.
We really strongly considered moving out and finding a new apartment, something with...
At least she got somebody. I don't know about the other girl. I know they only showing us 3 people, but at least these 2 people so far, they got somebody. They got somebody with them. They're not by themselves. They're figuring out together. They're building together. So it's not a lonely road. I understand doing stuff by myself or having a roommate that you really didn't want. So those are my situations. But for them, they're doing pretty good. You're not alone when you're paying these prices. So now that I see it, like in the beginning, I was like, oh, there's a lot of increase. But I'm like, you got somebody that's got your back and y'all building together, and especially if you're in a relationship, yo, like, you'll be okay. You will be okay.
With better space for the same price, but our landlord actually came back and said, we'll lower the rent to X amount. So we were pretty happy.
Thelma has been living in New York since 2018. In 2020, she reached a personal milestone and got her own 1-bedroom apartment.
So I found this
Shout out to you, baby. Shout out to you. I got my first ever apartment this year, so I understand how it feels. Woo. Ain't nothing wrong with roommates, but ain't nothing like having your own. Something that you work for, you grind for, you push for. There ain't nothing like having your own, man. So shout out to you, baby girl. Shout out to you.
This apartment on Street Easy for $1882, and it was a 1-bedroom, and I thought that was an incredible price because you can never find that in New York. So I instantly jumped onto it. And then it increased to $2,400 the next year. There's been a lot of times where I had oatmeal for dinner because I needed to pay my rent. And when the pandemic happened and I was able to not only find this place but afford it because it became affordable, I was so excited. But that looming presence of rent increasing again was always in the back of my head.
In mid-2021, New York City began to come back to life as vaccines became available and restrictions were lifted.
New York City is dead forever. That was the proclamation from some last year when sidewalks across the city emptied and many small businesses closed their doors for good. But new data today shows a reawakening.
Rents soared as
Yeah. A reckoning of a new price increase. Jeez Louise.
tenants lost the bargaining power that they had at the height of the pandemic.
I've been in the business 13 years and I've never seen the rental market quite like this. I've seen it competitive, but not where there's bidding wars for rental property.
And them bidding wars were crazy. I've heard so many different stories where people had bidding wars where it's like, normally you had to pay maybe like a couple thousand more. Some people were paying like 10 to 20,000 more just to secure a spot for a home. Because again, people weren't building, everything paused. So if you're already low on housing and now everybody moved away, now people moving back and people are trying to keep their area, so the prices are increasing because again, labor shortage, low on supplies. You're trying to do a lot right now, and just to keep what you have, it's just those bidding wars were crazy. But I think it slowed down now in 2022, where it's now like, okay, this is somewhat reasonable now, so I can manage this and work with this.
Properties.
My original rent was $2,250, so they're saying if I want to renew the rent, it will be $4,395. So, yeah.
I actually did refresh my page because I thought this was an error. And I looked at the number and I just started laughing. $3,500. Like, I had to keep saying it out loud to myself because it was such a ridiculous number that I was like, this cannot be possible. This must be a joke.
When we got a new lease increase, we really wanted to talk to the landlord and discuss an option of, can we negotiate a little bit, or is there any wiggle room? And they just wrote back within 15 minutes saying no, that they already gave us a preferred rate of that $700 increase. So they were not willing to budge on negotiations at all. We didn't think our apartment was worth $2,700. It's small and it doesn't really have all the amenities, the 4th floor walk up. The $2,700 is also our preferred rate, where it's actually at $3,100.
Now with inventory very low, landlords can charge much higher rates and certainly make up some of the losses that they incurred.
Yo, I'm about to give y'all some game. Here's some game right here. I was searching for my apartment. I learned this. Never get an apartment if you can in the spring or summer. That's when everybody and their mama want to move. Wait till the holidays, the end of the year or the beginning of the year. November to the beginning of February. You have a little wiggle room, but if you could choose a date, December or January, those are two main ones at least, to get yourself a brand new apartment. If you can just hold out for those dates, it'll be a lot cheaper because again, a lot of people aren't moving during those times, and there's not a lot of since a lot of people aren't moving or apartments aren't filling up during those times, you got more of a wiggle room to get into an apartment because again, the job of a landlord or a leasing agent or all of them in between is to fill vacancies. So if you can just hold out until November, December, January, February, at the latest, your rent will be cheaper. Trust your boy on this one. Trust your boy on this one.
During the pandemic.
I think some of the misconceptions that people have about New York City landlords is that every single one is a huge institution just reaping in profits, when in reality there are a lot of small landlords, especially throughout Brooklyn and Queens, who maybe...
And the small landlords got crushed compared to the big boys. So they got crushed. And it's crazy that, I don't know, man, the whole pandemic situation was crazy. And I understand, like, especially when you got, like, you got to pay people back. Listen, bro, I ain't had the money before. How am I going to pay you back? And people, landlords, small landlords got to hit worse, man.
Maybe they live in one unit and rent out the other, and they're dependent on these renters to, you know, offset their mortgage and
Exactly. They use that to offset their certain expenses and mortgages. And like, these aren't rich landlords that went through all this situation. It's just like, yo, bro, I don't have enough. I'm barely making it. I need to rent this out and maybe work this part-time job to keep a roof over my head, especially if you're elderly and you're older and you just got a lot more going on. So I completely understand the situation. I mean, yeah, man. I just feel bad for the small landlords because they went through a hell of a lot.
Nearly 3.6 million units, 2/3 are rentals. About 1 million are rent stabilized, meaning that rents can only be increased by a fixed amount each year. But even those lucky enough to be living in rent-stabilized units are seeing larger than usual rent increases. In June 2022, the New York City Rent Guidelines Board approved a 3.25% increase on one-year leases and a 5% increase on two-year leases, the highest rent hike in nearly a decade.
The fastest growing borough has been Manhattan in terms of prices. Manhattan was also the hardest hit, and now we're seeing prices that are higher than 40% year over year. That would have been something I thought was a typo years ago, but is now a sad reality for people living in Manhattan and trying to cope.
If I'm already checking off the boxes of what makes a great tenant, I have a full-time job, I make over 6 figures, I'm single, quiet, and I can't even afford to live here,
She's checking a lot of boxes. She's single, she makes over 6 figures, and like, it's scary. It's honestly becoming scary because I feel like it's getting to a point where even if you make 6 figures, say you make $100,000 a year, yes, you're up there, you're with some top people, but it's getting to a point where like, yo, 100 grand ain't enough, at least in these big cities, at least. Like, man, hustle and grind and build 20s and 30s, because I tell you right now, it just seems like it's not getting any better. It's just a lot, bro. And it's just scary because that's the main goal everybody's like striving for. 6 figures, 6 figures, 6 figures, 6 figures. Not even a millionaire, but 6 figures, 6 figures, 6 figures. Whereas like you can live a comfortable middle class life. You can take your kid to school or private school. If you and your significant other make 6 figures, you can go ahead and have 2 cars garage, 2 dogs, you know what I'm saying? Health insurance is amazing on you or your wife's. You guys can go on family trips every other month, like not just one time out the year. I remember those. But now it's just like, man, it's just getting stupid high.
What is the housing market for?
So right when we received the lease renewal in the mail, we just knew immediately we're not going to do this.
We actually found a great
What'd I say? Like, I'm like paying, yeah, man. Not when you increase that stupid much. Hell nah.
one that we liked. It was over in Kew Gardens in Queens. We started to put an application in, and later that day, I was laid off from my position and my role. And
No. At least she got laid off, but at least she has someone. She's not alone in this. I'm assuming they seem like a smart couple. I assume they got some savings, got credit cards, and Man, they might still be able to stay at where they at. I don't know if they do. We about to find out. Maybe they'll tell us in this episode. But man, thank goodness you got somebody though. Because trust me, I understand when it's just you and your back against the wall, you looking to your left, looking to the right, ain't nobody there. It's just you. Thank goodness she is married. She got a man, and he can hold it down. And she might be able to do Uber. They got a car that she can do Uber or Lyft until she find another job. Also, there's Upwork. There's Fiverr. So she can, especially if you're project manager, like there's plenty of job and it's in demand job. So she got this. And the special part is she's not alone. You alone, I understand how that feels. The thing get tough.
You know, anybody that knows New York City, you need proof of employment, an offer letter, pay stubs, and at that point I didn't have any of that.
Casey and her husband left their Upper East Side apartment and moved into an Airbnb in the Bronx.
We thought that was the best choice for us because it allowed for a lot of flexibility. They do offer short-term leases, which was really nice. It was almost like a sublet. We said no to $700, and you know, we did think about that, but I think in retrospect I would have done a little bit more research and looked for different apartments and put a little bit more effort into making a decision before we actually just said no to our landlord. We realized that after it was all said and done, the Airbnb itself really cost just about.
And I feel like I just feel like with the Airbnb situation, well, not Airbnb, that's fortunate that they were able to get Airbnb, but I just honestly feel like with the landlord situation, because of the pandemic in the past 2 years, they had no choice but to negotiate, otherwise there's nothing coming in. Now since there's a high demand, again, supply and demand. There's a high supply, so there's low demand. There's low demand. If there's high demand, there's low supply, and well, there's low supply, there's high demand. You guys know what I mean. So now it's just like crap. You gotta compete. You gotta do what you gotta do, and it's unfortunate because again, a lot of them I feel like would negotiate, and especially the small ones negotiate with you. But when I can only imagine you back on rent, bills, supplies coming up, something breaking out, it costs more money because there's not that many. Because the labor is going to cost more. If the plumbing issue, they got to order supplies, which supplies cost more. And there's not a lot of plumbers. You gotta pay more because there's not that many people doing plumbing. So it's like it's a trickle effect. So I can see where it comes from.
Just about as much as the rent increase would have been at that $2,700.
As I apartment hunt, I grow frustrated because I see very blatantly the benefits of what boroughs have and what other boroughs don't. Mm-hmm. Like, what do I give up? Do I give up having access to be able to get food easily, or do I give up being able to walk to a doctor? Do I give up my safety because some neighborhoods are safer than others?
That's another thing too. That's another thing. If you're not making enough money, you gotta stay in certain neighborhoods. Again, she's making real good points. Like, she's making adult good points. Like, there's some areas where it's not safe to walk. Some areas where you might have to travel for food or for a doctor. I know there's certain food deserts. There's medical situations where you got to some people have to take 2 or 3 buses to get to a doctor or a grocery store. So all these things play into factor. And if you're in your 20s and 30s, you want to be social, you want to go walk into a bar or walk into restaurants nearby or a local farmer market like you can have access to. This costs money and it takes time. Like, I feel for these people. I really do feel for these people.
For a whole week, I was just breaking down, looking at the prices. One night, I literally called my mom and I was like, Mom, I feel like a failure. I can't even afford living in this city. We've already put in 1 deposit, so ideally we don't go past another one. Is the agent here yet?
Could you picture a full bed in here with your desk?
Yeah, I feel like my desk would fit here. And then I could have a full bed, but then
that is a small room for $4,400. That's not even a room right there, man. God. Oh my goodness.
I need something for my closet. I love it, but I don't know if I can afford it, honestly. So my roommate and I saw 3 or 4 apartments before finding the one that we have now that we just got approved for. And that process was insane. We actually applied to apartments that we didn't even know if we wanted to live in, just for backup, for safety, because it was just so competitive. There was even an apartment where we had to put in a $1,000 deposit just for our application.
That has to be Manhattan. My God, $1,000. I know when you do the application, it holds your spot, but it also goes toward your rent. I know that happened to me where I had to pay like, I forgot how much it was. I think maybe $300-$500, but it holds your application spot. Because again, the market is competitive. Like it's not like it used to be where it's like you can just take your time and go for it. But it's just super competitive, man. Like, because again, everything's shut down and it's like there's high demand because everybody been like, okay, can't get access. Now the floodgates open, everybody's running in, and you gotta take risks, you gotta be the first one, you gotta negotiate, you gotta do all this just to secure your spot. So, woo!
To be considered.
You know, as a real estate agent throughout, you know, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens, we're seeing that apartments are on the market for less than a week and they would be rented at the first showing or first open house. The fastest listing that I had rented was in Bed-Stuy, and it had a backyard. It was a 2-bedroom rental with a backyard. We had previously rented it for $2,700. We put it on the market for $3,000, and we had close to 75 people at the first open house, and it rented that day, and I think it rented for $3,600.
My goodness, $3,600. Woo! $3,600. But again, she had like the 75 people. Again, like I said before, man, demand. Like, the competition is fierce. And again, my heart just still go out because I can relate so much to these 3 individuals. Maybe not the ones in relationships, but I can relate to them so much. It's just, again, you're in a top city like New York, so you gotta perform.
New Yorkers is the requirement that they earn 40 times the rent when applying for an apartment. With the median asking rent in Manhattan around $4,000, that means the minimum income to qualify for an apartment at that price is $160,000. The median household income in New York City is $67,000. If an applicant doesn't meet this requirement, they need to find a guarantor who makes at least 80 times the rent to co-sign their lease.
I hate that because it's like I don't have no mom or dad or uncle or grandparent to have that 80 cosign, especially if you struggle with credit your whole life, man, that's a lot, bro. That's a lot on one person, a lot on somebody to do man. You just don't got it, bro. That's a lot, man. And it's disheartening, especially if you make. It's just disheartening, man. It's just disheartening because you want to stay in a certain area or a favorite apartment that you like. Maybe got great lighting. You can make YouTube videos, or you can have. It's a great area to have friends. There's bars nearby. There's karaoke, restaurants, farmers market, and like, oh my God, this would be perfect for me and my friends, and or me and my girlfriend or my partner, whoever it may be. It's like this is great. But now you got to make, but the median income is only $67,000. To stay there, you got to make 40 times that. So if the rent is $4,000, you got to make over 100 and I think this thing said 160,000. Like, man.
So my roommate and I toured this apartment. It was $4,800 for 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom in downtown Brooklyn. And it had everything that we wanted, but we didn't meet the criteria of making 40 times the rent in our income.
When I first moved into this apartment, it was $1,882 a month, and I was making $65K. I was very privileged enough to afford that rent requirement, but because it wasn't 40 times that, I needed a guarantor. That is something that was both embarrassing to deal with as a 29-year-old who, you know, with a master's degree, you know, I proved I can make it on my own, but here is a roadblock that doesn't make sense and seems
I understand
to be
all too well.
Very classist to push certain people out.
I think there should be certain barriers to protect people I agree, and I have a few. I need to do my research on what they are. I know there's a lot out there. But there should be certain areas and barriers where, okay, with the cost of living increasing so high, the cost of income needs to increase as well. But apparently that doesn't work in America. So there's need to be barriers in place where you only increase but so little every year. That way it gives somebody time to up their skills or find a new job so they can afford to live in that area. But if you're just constantly snap, 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 it's increasing to astronomical levels. It's like, yo, like, to me, it's about stability. It's about like, yo, okay. It's like, take your breath as I go through life. Because when you worrying about a place to live or having a roof over your head, how you going to pay the bills, that stress, it messes up your existence, man, of life, man. It's hard. It's freaking hard. It's freaking hard, man. So there's need to be some form of barriers in place where you can just breathe, and then continue. So when these trials or tribulations or issues come at hand, you'll be able to handle them in a more proficient manner.
Rising right now, we're seeing a lot of that inventory come from people who are getting priced out of their pandemic deals. About a third of the inventory in the city right now is coming from those people.
We've thought about Jersey City, which is really cool. It's not out of the question. I mean, those are all really close to New York. It's just kind of like a wait and see kind of thing, but we're willing to do, Brooklyn, Queens, I mean.
Casey is waiting until she finds a new job before starting her apartment hunt again.
There's so many remote opportunities now. Who knows where I'll end up. It could be in New York, I could be in Boston or Philadelphia. But I'm really open to anything, so. And here's my resume, just kidding.
Thelma's lease ends in September 2022. She won't be renewing.
I remember the beginning of the pandemic, how scary that was. And how.
You got this, baby. You got this. I see her shaking. I see her moving. I see her shaking. I see her moving. But just hold on. Just hold on. Don't give up, man. I feel so passionate about this because I can relate so freaking much, man. I can relate so freaking much to this, man. Like, having a place to stay, that stability, just because when you constantly gotta go move if you sleep in your car, you sleep with your friends, there's a time limit, man. And you worrying about if you sleep in your car, worrying about if your car getting towed, worrying about people knocking on your door, or the police saying you can't sleep here. You're worrying about your friends, you messing up your friendship, if you gotta sleep on somebody's couch, or you worried about if you gotta get some random neighbor or roommate real quick, and you might not feel comfortable with that. I understand it, man. Just hold on, baby. Just hold on. Hold on.
I mean, if you were here, it was very empty and scary. So to see New York come alive again has been incredible. And then to not even be able to continue to experience that joy.
That experience.
Simply because I can't afford to live here it's ridiculous. Because I'm like, okay, then what's next? It is looking more like I'm going to put my stuff in storage and go to Europe and work remotely there and hope that housing calms down in New York.
Thelma ended up buying a one-way ticket to London.
Hopefully I can come back once the market has cooled down a little bit and I can find a spot, or I don't know, maybe I'll officially become a London girl, who knows?
There's a lot of people have been moving to the UK, so it's not out of question for her to actually stay in London. A lot of people move to the UK or a lot of other European countries, or Canada, right up the block, or some people move to Mexico. So especially with the opportunities to work remote has changed the game. So it's unfortunate because you want to live in a city where you can just, again, do those simple things. Farmers market, bars, restaurants, karaoke night, have friends over, or walk to the park with your dog and just feel safe. Keep grinding, baby.
Ernestine is moving to Brooklyn with her roommate. Her portion of the rent will be $2,200.
I love it. Originally, I was very against Brooklyn, but I actually love this area. I like this area more than where I originally am living right now in East Village. I love how it's like right by the water. and there's so many cute restaurants around, and it just seems like it's like easier access to like healthy things I could do in everyday life. So when we signed this lease for our new apartment, the upfront costs were $10,000. That's including the security deposit, and that's including first month's rent. But the thing that really threw us off was the broker's fee, which was $2,000. I had to dig into my savings, and my savings literally, like, big chunk of it just went away. So I'm just going to have to change my lifestyle a little bit and, you know, save where I can. So it's just little compromises that you have to make.
10,000. Jeez Louise.
It's just all compromises.
It's really an odd feeling not having a set place right now and just really kind of feeling like a nomad. So it's hard to think about where I'm going to be in a few months and where we're going to be settled in. And also my cat. I want to make sure my cat's happy.
It really does come down to supply and demand. There's a lot of people who want to live in New York, and the amount of apartments in New York, there's just not that many of them. And that imbalance right there is going to cause the unaffordability that we're seeing across the city.
Exactly.
The finish line keeps moving, and I'm like, what is the purpose of me running this race anymore?
With the U.S. economy on shaky ground, there's a chance that New York City rents could start to normalize.
We're gonna have to see a lot of inventory come online.
It has to normalize because it's getting to a point in America where everything's increasing. The cost of living is increasing so far up that now people who are making, obviously, as you guys can see in the video, obviously if you're making six figures, you can't even afford to live there. So it's like something got to give, some new law got to pass. Listen, I'm all for capitalism, making money, but I'm not for not creating pathways for people to be in those environments. I'm all for creating pathways for people to live in those environments and flourish and enjoy Broadway, the city, farmers market, restaurants, a karaoke night with friends. I keep talking about karaoke night. I need to try karaoke. I've never done it before. But you need to create barriers for those people so they can enjoy the simple things. Otherwise, what's the point? You want an expensive city where nobody can do stuff in? And next thing you know, you hurt all the other small business nearby. And then you're back in your situation, you're lowering it, and then you're increasing it, lowering it, increasing it. Again, that's a part of life and part of the market. But hey, man, there needs to be pathways to some form of stability to grow. So that's all I am saying.
Online, so that'd be people moving out of the city, or a large rash of construction being built, or there's something going on with the demand side. If there's a ton of job losses, like in a recession, things like that, where people just couldn't afford what they could afford before, then that would also lead to prices to fall as well. So one of these two things has to budge.
The scales are starting to tip into buying. So if you look at that rent versus buy analysis, I think, you know, as rents are at an all-time high, it's really worth looking at why am I spending $5,000 to rent when I could own the same apartment for less.
I think the hardest part during this process was the mental strain that it took on me. It was hard to choose between whether I wanted to pay the premium of New York City for the opportunities that you get here, or, you know, just move home and save my money.
I'm optimistic. I think this is a temporary fix and something's got to break. I think that at some point the mayor is going to have to do something, and we'll have more opportunities and more apartments out there.
Being able to have this for 2 years has been so uplifting and so inspiring. I feel almost unstoppable, and I feel so grateful, and I see New York coming alive, but at the same time New York is coming alive, I'm being pushed out at the same time. You know, New York tough is a saying, and it's true, but I feel like we're being beat down, and you can only be as tough as you can.
All right, that was a good video, guys. This is the longest one I think I ever did, for over 44 minutes. Woo! Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the live. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. For the people who joined, for the people who will see this, I thank you again. I do this Monday through Friday, live stream at night. I don't know what time yet, but once I get that community tab button, I'll post more in there to let you guys know. But this has been fun. I enjoy it. Again, this is very therapeutic for me. And plus, you guys get to see my personality a little bit more on different topics. Might do something. I have no idea what video we're gonna watch tomorrow, but because I didn't know I was gonna watch this today. Again, I do this live, baby. Do this live. Again, Monday through Friday at night, live streams, and also I do clips of these live streams. I drop a clip every day, so you can watch the clips or just click on the playlist of the live stream clips, so you can watch a faster version of it all, so you don't have to sit through 45 minutes of this. But again, I enjoy it. I love it. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below what you like about the video, what you didn't like about the video, and what you wish I would have talked about more. Again, I still do skits, so check out my skits. There's a lot of my skits and shorts, and my conversational skits that I drop on Wednesdays and Sundays. So I'm doing a lot. I'm doing skits, doing live reaction videos, and I am doing original sketches and conversational sketches. So yeah, man, come for comedy, come from entertainment, come for a little bit of thought and my take on the world. Until then, guys, I appreciate you, and I will see you tomorrow night. Peace out.